Hey, welcome to the stream. So, kind of had this idea for the last one, just scrolling through my Instagram, to remember who I am, in a sense. Oh, well, everyone knows online identity is fake. People only post the highlights. That's usually true, but I post the worst of the worst. And it used to say something like that in my bio, but yeah, now it's just like blah blah blah. So it's always true, even if it's not good. So like the format of the account really changes on like so I've had like part of my likes. So if you're new, this is a experimental channel, alternative personal brand. It's not secret. Obviously I show my face, but it's not my professional identity either. So I've had like probably 4 or 5 encounters with narcs that have been transformative, and I didn't know what was happening in the beginning, but I kind of did. Like, I identified, man, this really feels like my family growing up. I never thought my family were narcs or even abusive or anything like that, but in retrospect, what a toxic sludge pool. And they even, my sperm donor would joke that we're a dysfunctional family. So, right. So it turns into, tons of screenshots, an old screen capture, some memes. Oh, I started thinking about a little update to this guy, which I talked about a few streams ago. Not a conspiracy. It's just the script of narcissistic abuse repeating over and over through different social circles. So I've had like 4 or 5 of these guys. So, I mean, this stuff's all great, but what I actually want to do, that's my brother, who I think he was probably empathic and just got beat into being, beat down by the narcissist and just started giving up. So, I mean, they would say at the end of his life that he was doing better than ever, which is true, but that's a result of him just kind of giving up and going along with the program, I think. I didn't know him very well. So, and there's various things that have happened when I've posted these within my group of relatives. Family is spirit, and these people are not my family. So, by the way, there's like 10 more minutes until my breakfast potatoes are done, which are the same baked fries that I always make. But I usually intermittent fast, and yeah, eating breakfast in the morning is a huge change. So now you see my life starts being like, oh yeah, less screenshots, more actual pictures, right? So the physics of homelessness, deleting my Facebook account. Really weird thing happened when I deleted my Facebook account. But yeah, so who am I? So now we're getting into who I really am. This was probably after like 4 narcissists. So February 3rd, 2019, right before pandemic. So at this point I had been homeless for like a year, not quite a year. and my life was pretty much getting back on track. Like, I could afford a hotel room. I was working, landscaping and things like that, moving. So here it's all about the food. Here's the puzzle that I donated to a hackerspace. You know, here I was just becoming vegetarian. Like 2017 is when I became vegetarian, so this is what? June 2018. So this is 20 days after I became homeless. So this is becoming vegetarian. This is eating on the street vegetarian. Obviously this is like right when I became homeless. You know, this is what, yeah, June 9th. This is what people who have not been homeless before think of in terms of like, oh, what do homeless people eat? You know, they think, oh, they cook some noodles? What? So I mean, I had some, I don't remember if I bought this stove because I was going to be homeless or if I had it before I was homeless and it just was like, huh, that's how I can eat while I'm homeless. I can just buy some gas and cook on a stove. So yeah, I was still going to my same grocery store I always went to. So here's kind of the end of my time in my apartment. I had some plants. These were my first plants, May of 2018. Still just eating tons of fruit. I think I became, you know, I ate fully fruitarian at some point. Obviously potatoes and nut butter are not fruit, but a bunch of oranges. Like, this was a week worth of groceries. My plants. See, people were still liking my posts back then. Some local honey. I think I still had allergies at this point, but allergies are in the mind. But eating local honey is supposed to be good for your allergies. So that was like transcending my mind in a way. Transcending how I thought, you know, allergies are genetic, this and that. Actually, your genes might even be a reflection of your circumstances. Because, you know, if you get into like chronic stress situations, it can activate certain genes. So obviously not vegan. I was still eating eggs here. I think I was still eating meat at this time. So these are a bunch of recipe cards that I made. And yeah, I was still in the habit of not responding to people's comments. I'm just not a social media user. So here, not too much. Here's where I moved into an apartment, March of 2016. You know, here's where I went to a distillery that was local. What was it? St. George. I think it's on Alameda. Here's a festival, Hardly Strictly, I think. Bluegrass. Here's the gym I used to go to. The apartment I used to live in. Single room occupancy with the big common area. The park I used to eat lunch at. So you can now see, oh, you're just a homeless guy. You can now kind of see how people would envy my life. This was a block away from where I lived for the next apartment. Where I used to work. An Oakland Art Festival. Local beer. Indoor mini golf. hotel that I went to a conference at. So it's like, am I just this worthless homeless bum, or did I earn this life? Backyard of the apartment that I lived in. There's like all kinds of birds and stuff back there. So here's where I used to be a freelancer. I would just work in the park like this 510 weeks ago. So yeah, now you can kind of start to see how people envied my life. This was my, like, it's a totally different situation than where we started, isn't it? This was the park by the school I went to. A book that I bought for one of my relatives. Storm that tore up my old neighborhood where I grew up. Twins game. Drive-in movie. This is almost like a model train. Funny. Bike race. I didn't participate, just observed. So yeah, I wasn't too active on here. This is like a year. I think there should be one post from when I went to Denver between, yeah. So I lived in Denver for a little bit before I went to San Francisco. So obviously I could get around. I could choose where I wanted to be. Here's out of Google headquarters. Oh, you're just playing up your status game. Stuff I used to eat. This is like my nightly quesadilla. So it's like remembering who I am, right? Like I'm still the same person. I've been put into this narcissistic abuse situation over and over and over. And it's like, you know, as I would reach out to my closer friends about it, they started getting tired of hearing about it. Like, it was at that time I was still processing and trying to figure out what's happening, you know? And so it wasn't a narcissistic discard, but, you know, I basically got discarded by some of my close friends. And then I think another one of my close friends was a narcissist and used that to sort of reinforce a smear campaign or as a trigger to go on a smear campaign. And it's like I didn't know like what was happening. I just felt, because so narcissism is a 3D manifestation of spiritual warfare. So it's like I felt this stuff, like I was getting like extreme anxiety, like my dreams were messed up, like I just like knew like it was going to be weird contacting people. Oh, so you just had all these delusions and manifested this into your reality is what you're saying. That would be sort of the new age, you know. I don't call myself a victim, but it's, you know, blaming the person who is being, you know, who's having abuse done to them. So, you know, I don't like sit here and study this all the time. Homemade pizza. But it's just, I looked through it the other day. And it's like, yeah, like I posted a lot of food that I used to cook. You know, places I would go. My day-to-day a little bit. Like, this was every night. I'd go to this beach because I lived a block away from the beach. So there's tons of beach pictures. Even though it's not like a swimming beach, it's just like, oh yeah, that's beautiful, that's beautiful, that's beautiful. Stuff I would eat. So my fries are done. stuff I would eat. So I was already experimenting with potatoes back then. You know, some things I remember certain people liked, and there's no longer a heart on it, so it's like, I know a lot of people I used to know have unfollowed me and blocked me. Like, this used to be all people that I knew in real life. Stuff I would eat on the street. It's like, just stuff started getting weird, you know? It like very gradually got weird. Like, back here people were still with me. But then as I would reach out to people, you know, they would not be receptive at all to what was happening. I know my fries are done. First drawing I did got a lot of likes. So here, after pandemic, first time I got to stay in a hotel. One of my friends, my ex-friends, my bros really, publicly called me out right here. And this is where stuff got really weird. Because it was like I finally got the resources to get into a motel. I had been working on this physics of homelessness stuff for a while. Some IT project stuff for a while, which I archived a lot of stuff. You know, kind of getting into entrepreneurship. And it's like they were waiting. You know, I've talked about all this stuff in the past. Like, I don't want to keep bringing it up. But it's just like, finally I got the resources to kind of move for myself, and then like another attack happened. So it's like, here's standard operating procedure with my relative. Like, he's just fills the place up. You know, it's just disgusting. But then, you know, there's black mold all over the place. Getting into food prep. Me as a kid, just looking like, how did I get on this earth? So now, like, this is where it just starts getting totally weird. And I, like, allegedly fly off the rails and go crazy. But this is after years of being homeless, right? So people who want to say they abandoned me because of all this stuff, like, it might be true. But really, you know, it's kind of the effect of these smear campaigns that have been happening. And so all of this data stuff is, you know, the Homeless Data Project. It's sort of an attempt to get a quantitative version of who I am, this self-actualization. You know, these are like, how am I doing in different areas of life, bottom to top, biological, safety, love, esteem. I could get my food and come back down here and keep talking. But yeah, I'm trying to keep these under like 20 minutes. So here's earlier iterations of the potatoes. You know, posting, I know these are kind of weird selfies. Then just like the hardcore engineering stuff. You know, here's like mentions in my notes for a while. So like trying to see how would I think about changes over time. Because you really lose yourself with this narcissistic abuse stuff. So finally, you know, and this isn't even like intended as a conclusion to the talk. But it's just like last night I just scribbled this out because I've been thinking like, you know, I saw another video that's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I'm like, okay, I'm an enemy of big tech. Like, obviously big tech is a lot of companies, but, you know, converged big tech companies, specifically starting with OpenTable. You go through the reference checks, and then, you know, like, towards like the top of the pyramid, people are, you know, they have their group chats and whatnot. They have their whisper lists. So enemy of big tech, enemy of my sperm donor. You know, I caused all the problems in his life, more narcissistic abuse. Old friend one, you know, guy who sabotaged me on Instagram. Or, you know, guy who sabotaged me to my other friends. Guy who sabotaged me on Instagram. Like, who knows how many people I'm an enemy of. but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, like the group chat of haters thing, it's like there's no conspiracy. All these people are running the same demonic plays. But in a sense, if they did have an opportunity to work together, like if my big tech employer, who's paid tens of thousands of dollars to lawyers to destroy my reputation in the courts, were to find my sperm donor and start paying him to torture me or to, smear me to the rest of the family, offer opportunities to my old friends on my Instagram, et cetera, et cetera, frame me, make me look bad, people who I might have used as character witnesses, like, it's like, that sounds very conspiratorial, buddy. Like, I get it. So I'm not saying it is happening. I'm just like, let's look at incentives. But like, character is demeanor plus reputation, right? So all of this personal analytics stuff, all of these data points, this is my demeanor, which obviously, as I keep trying to explain myself, keep, being further abused, isolated, etc., my demeanor will be changing. But the point is, we'll see a trend of what it's changing from, right? So, like, at some point, it just becomes improbable that I'm acting. I mean, the end of this is, like, 10 years ago. So, like, have I been putting on a show for 10 years to try to get a settlement out of an employer? Or am I actually a really hardworking, really friendly, this and that guy? It's like, I'm just being found out and exposed, right? So, who am I really? Like, at the core, I'm the same person that I've always been, but my demeanor in a lot of ways is changing. So, and like the way that I look at things and, like, I don't check my messages or my likes. Like, why? It's because I know that there are, it's like as soon as I get into a hotel, a campaign will come full of bots that'll be like, I've talked about so much of this, it's just I don't want to keep visiting it, but it is important to communicate because, like, there's the Raised by Narcissist community on Reddit that has like 900,000 people, and it's like every time I go there, there's things that just ring so true. Like, gosh, we could talk a lot more about that kind of stuff, but we're getting to the danger zone with my fries, so I gotta stop this. But thanks for joining, and see you soon. Bye.